Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our weekly Q&A session. My name is Benji. I'm joined by Sean. Mark will be with us in a minute. Thank you all for coming. Today's session is going to be another one of our AI-focused Q&As. We think we're going to do these probably once a month moving forward as we continue to release features of LeanScaper AI and build out the product roadmap that we have envisioned. There's always going to be tons of questions about what is this new technology? How do we use it? Help me get the most out of it, address some of my concerns. Like all of that is very normal and something that we think is super helpful to just have an ongoing conversation cadence around. And so we're going to be doing these. We did one a month ago. We'll do one again in a month, and this will be a part of the Q&A rhythm moving forward. This is, as the title suggests, a question and answer session. So it's sort of call and response. What's really cool about building tech is it happens really fast, and we're always adding new features, new bits and pieces. And so since the last time we did a session like this, there's actually quite a bit to talk about. So Sean's going to share some of that, and then we'll get to your questions. So go ahead and start loading that up. And Sean, if you're ready, let's hear from you.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Let me share a few things. Hopefully you're seeing
You're good.
LeanScaper AI. Awesome. So one of the things that we've been working really hard on is making LeanDocs that systemization engine for you, where you can document systems, capture information, help make the AI database and Lana more intelligent. So for those that might not be familiar, LeanScaper AI, we have this LeanDocs, which is a light document repository where you're able to help build that systemization and AI information that we leverage to tailor answers and responses to your team and your context. And as you can see, we've got a little call out. One of the really biggest things we were asked for right away is, can I put images into LeanDocs? And yes, you can. So I want to highlight a couple of core things. First, we're making collaborating in LeanDocs really simple. So I'll just collaborate with myself for sake of ongoing collaboration. But as you can see, I'm collaborating. I have it in two tabs. The changes will be synced. But where this is really relevant for you is if you have multiple team members working on SOPs, you're trying to update documents, keep them in sync. You can now have that multi-person editing experience that we're all familiar with things like Google Docs that just let you be more efficient. And that's our goal, is to make this really easy and straightforward for you. So you can generate all of these documents with our AI. You can now collaborate together to make them better. Almost immediately, one of the biggest things was wanting to be able to bring in imagery. So all you need to do is drag and drop into the document, and you now have images in your document. One of the really fun things here is this works with animated GIFs, if anybody knows what they are. So you can turn little highlights if you want to show specific areas of a job site or what good looks like. You can do that with animated GIFs, and we will at some point over the next couple months be adding in support for videos as well. So we're just getting started, but now you can do real-time collaboration. You can use images in all of your documents, and this will help to make Lana smarter. The second biggest thing that we were asked about in Charlotte is the ability to load in files. So you have existing SOPs or you have documented things that you want Lana to understand and be able to work with you on. And then two really big improvements with Lana. One, my chat history is now the same across all of your instances of Lana. So it doesn't matter where you are chatting with Lana, you'll always have the same information and same memory. So that way you can work wherever you need to. All of Lana's instances now can be made full screen. So there was a need overall to be able to work with Lana the same way across the entire platform, and we've made that possible. And then the last thing is Lana now has a memory across chats. So she's going to automatically remember things, but you can also control that. So say I want to tell Lana, hey, Lana, we use HubSpot as our CRM and LMN as our business management. can't type. Somebody needs to stop sending polls. Uh, management tools, business management software. Lana is then going to remember that and will be able to bring back that memory and leverage that information whenever making recommendations. So now Lana will remember what you're using and be able to customize those answers. She's going to do this automatically, but a little pro tip is you can just tell her to remember things and she will remember them. And if she's not automatically bringing back that memory, which she should, you can also tell her to reference her memory and her knowledge. We've made a bunch of settings improvements and interface improvements to make life easier. But those are really the biggest things that I wanted to highlight and hope everybody gets excited about.
Sean, there's a couple things here that I think your little demo has questions that has stimulated. So a question from Josh is about LeanDocs. Will we be able to make folders within LeanDocs to organize things better? Can you speak to that a little?
Yeah, organizational structure around LeanDocs is coming. We are working on that. Maybe not directly folders, but the ability to label, categorize, filter, all of that is in the works. So yes, we understand that you're quickly getting to hundreds of documents and you need better ways to manage that. We're trying to make that as easy for you as possible, meaning leverage the intelligence of the platform to help do that in as automated a fashion as we can, and then let you tweak those things rather than making you come up with a structure that you have to then keep up with. We're gonna take a lot of that burden on ourselves and then be able to let you improve on it.
Cool. Another great question from Brady is, what is the timeline for external data connections to Lana? For example, QuickBooks Online, LMN, etc. And then hopefully down the line, the ability to push data from Lana to those platforms as well. As a follow-up, what will LeanScaper AI be able to produce with the data? Scorecards, forecasts, scenario analysis. So that's kind of a meaty question.
That's quite the involved question and a really exciting one. Yeah, so next week we will, and actually later this week for participants in Dallas, you'll be able to connect QuickBooks Online. So timeline on first integration is 2 to 3 days, and we will be leveraging that in our Dallas event to show you how Lana can help understand what's going on in your business from a financial side and bringing that information in. So super excited to get that. And that is only phase one for us. So this will be ongoing, but expect many more integrations coming out in Q4 and working with the likes of LMN and other industry partners and tools to integrate that information in. And as was highlighted, the first knowledge there is to make that all-encompassing AI database for your business really, really smart about what you're doing. And you'll be able to immediately see the benefits of that. And then later as our agents start to come out, integrating and speaking back with those systems is a core part of that plan. So between now and Q1, there'll be so many changes there. Not exactly ready to talk about all the specifics, but I think you'll be pleased with what's coming.
This seems like a good moment, Mark. Let's get you in the mix here. Like when we think about that QuickBooks Online integration and then the other stuff kind of on the horizon as well, this is something that we decided to move on pretty quickly. It's a big deal. Can you just for the maybe first timers on this Q&A session, people who are less familiar with our vision for this product, like talk a little bit about why that's such an important piece to the vision, and more so like the utility that a landscaper in their business day to day would get from these two things talking to each other.
Yeah, I think largely everybody in the industry tends to start out using QuickBooks. Most companies tend to stick with QuickBooks. I know certainly we were still doing 50 million a year on QuickBooks, and it was doing everything that we needed just fine. We didn't feel the need to upgrade to an ERP level product at all. And largely, I think in the past, when people did decide to move off of a product like QuickBooks, it was usually to generate more powerful reports, more insights, more customized reports that might surface specific metrics. And I think what we've really enabled with this connection is the ability to access the data in QuickBooks ask questions and surface insights, by tapping into the data set that QuickBooks provides. So I think where you'll see this evolve over time, obviously, first day of integration is far from complete. There's lots of other work to be done, but powering the scorecards, really enabling managers at every level to truly understand what's happening in their division and sort of tap Lana for a quick question to understand how gross profit's trending on their division, in the future as we, tap into more job costing data through access to either the business management software that people are using like LMN or using file sharing to tap into other platforms. It gets really easy to assess the data using Lana, because what Lana is doing is surfacing the information that you don't find in QuickBooks, and that's really what we're attempting to do here, is provide that virtual CFO who can give you those quick answers and quick updates as you've got the questions, whether it be about your department profitability, for example, and then taking that a step further and asking for input as to why the profit might be lagging and what could be done to drive change. And this is where we really see Lana becoming that sort of partner to the leadership team, in the sense that she's not only there to supply information like a QuickBooks report, but she's there to ask better questions of the leadership team and provide better insights to the leadership team to act as a partner or as an assistant to, I think, try to surface things that often us humans are just a little too busy to focus on.
Really well said. Thank you. Another feature question from Dennis, Sean, is around permissions, I think. Can you speak more to another thing, can you maybe speak a little bit more about the different levels of access that will be available?
Yeah, we get lots of questions along that perspective. So with financial information coming into LeanScaper AI, the first thing, and you can actually check this in your account today, you can change somebody's roles. So you have employees, which kind of get access to everything from a conversational side. You have your admins, which control settings and can do anything LeanScaper AI. And we've added a role for financial admins. So as you connect QuickBooks and when the ability to upload files comes out, you'll have the ability to designate those as financial files or files for everybody. So the first thing we're doing is creating a role around all the financial information. So only people you make financial admins will be able to ask Lana questions, and she will bring back QuickBooks data and information and any information in your financial docs. Now, everybody can ask financial questions and can learn about finances and the role it plays in their job. So we're not limiting what you can talk to Lana about, but we are restricting the data she has access to. So she will answer those questions in a general sense and not have all the specific information about your business for all your employees. But then for your financial admins, as Mark was just saying, they'll be able to ask those specific questions, and she'll bring back context-aware answers. And that's the first area we're creating that kind of permissioning and division of role. We're trying to keep these things simple and lightweight so that you don't have a platform that you need to spend a bunch of time configuring. But we also want to make sure we give you the controls to restrict information where appropriate. So finance and HR sensitive information is clearly at the top of that list. And we will work to evolve the systems from there. Always trying to keep it really straightforward for you to manage. But yes, first coming out next week with all the financial information.
Awesome. This is a really good question from Kristen here. It's not one we've had before, but I can tell she's using it a lot because it's a really thoughtful inquiry. It's about final versions. Will we be able to save SOP docs as a final version so that they can't be changed, and then review and update annually or as needed as our processes evolve? So I think it's about you want a version that's not just a Google Doc that anyone can change. She wants the version that's sort of locked and then can be updated on more of a cadence. What do we got there, Sean?
Yeah, definitely in our plans to have LeanDocs have sort of like a draft or a published state, just as you described, so that you can have documents that you're working on and ones that are more in that final state. So yes, in the plans for the short term, and as we add things like categorization of LeanDocs and the ability to better manage those. And we show you some of the great ways you're going to be able to use those LeanDocs in the next couple of months here. All of that will evolve. So great question, and we're thinking the exact same way.
Question from Anonymous. Will it have a voice soon? Will I be able to have a conversation with her through my earbuds or glasses?
Definitely. Actually, by next week in Dallas, you should be able to talk to Lana. Lana talking back to you will come somewhat later. But as anybody who interacts with AI these days, I personally spend most of my time talking rather than typing, and you will be able to talk to Lana. Should be next week. So we're looking forward to launching the initial version of that. And then the bidirectional voice conversation will be coming. So yeah, really excited about that path. And we see that as the main way to limit the interfaces, we need to create for you and your teams to get real value day to day. And so a core focus of the evolution, and that'll start coming out next week.
So voice to text right away. In other words, we can just voice type an inquiry, a longer or more complex prompt, hit enter, and it will go in and we'll get a text response. And then not too long after that, we can do voice to voice. Am I understanding that correctly? I want to linger on this point for just a quick second, because this is actually a sort of an interesting thing in the AI universe. Like when we think about voice texting, voice typing, or voice to voice, what is the fundamental like benefit of that? Is it just reducing the friction between like thought and input? Like Elon talks about this when he's talking about Neuralink, and it all gets very sci-fi, but he does make a really interesting point. He's like, the keyboard's too slow. Like I can get information into this thing way faster if I could just speak to it, or one day eventually think to it. Like, is that a big part of the reason that these voice to type or voice to voice models have become so popular, or are there other benefits that maybe people aren't thinking of yet?
Yeah, for me, it's maybe the biggest fundamental change that AI has empowered right now. So the promise, voice to text has been around for quite a while. Just the reality of that was bad, right? And it goes to, we've all learned how to search for things in Google. You type in the 6 exact words that you need, and as long as you type in the exact 6 words that you need, you can find the information that you wanted to find. And sometimes it took you 2 hours to find those 6 right words. When searching for a very specific thing. Now, you need to worry a lot less about that setup, and it's more a real conversation with understanding. And we've gotten to the point in technology where AI understands that context. That doesn't mean it's not important what you say, because it still is, it really is. And what you have is the ability to much better set all of that right information and context, the background, the information, where typing all of that does get super annoying if you're trying to explain like, hey, this is what's going well with my crews. Here are the challenges we're having. We're struggling to get out of the yard on time. Things aren't organized. Now, all of this, when you're having a conversation with a person, is relatively easy to have, and you'll have that contextual information, and you'll set that up so they know what you're talking about. You can now have those conversations with Lana. And so that's why voice becomes really important, because it's just a more comfortable mechanism for us. And when you don't have to, think about how you have to type that perfectly, but you can rather focus on the information you're trying to deliver and make sure you're giving all of the relevant information and the relevant context around that information, you can get a much better answer back. So yeah, it's a huge paradigm shift in the way we interact with technology that is really good right now, and only going to get excellent in the years ahead.
Mark, do you have any thoughts to add on that question?
No, I think generally, just as Sean was saying, the big, major shift here is conversational AI, and really what we're building here is a platform that embeds rhythm in the business and helps everybody understand what good looks like in real time, and provides that input feedback and collects a lot of the information that traditionally has probably fallen between the cracks. I kind of call it the intangible. Products like LMN and Aspire and QuickBooks are fantastic systems of record, and they collect data and payroll and hours and job costing, and this is all incredibly valuable. But as you scale a business, there is a lot of efficiency lost in translation on day-to-day communication. And having a conversational AI agent in the pocket or in the glasses or on the wrist to help guide the rhythms and ask better questions and have better conversations and be that sort of point of contact that is often missing for crews working remotely all over the place. And just to be able to have a simple conversation in a more natural way, access the information or share the information laterally, upward, downward, whichever direction within an agent by having natural conversations, I think is just the way that humans are more naturally inclined to communicate. We use our voice.
Yeah, and you can imagine a world pretty quickly here. And I mean, like, probably by the end of this year, certainly early next year, where you've got like where you're not just sort of like on site typing an SOP in Lana, you're actually just like doing the task, speaking into a microphone, saying, "Hey, I'm building an SOP right now, follow along." And you talk out the steps step by step. It will take that voice typing that you did, cross-reference it with LeanScaper OS that we've built to make sure all the best practices are in place, and then back home at the office, an ops manager or you, the owner, can have a look at the SOP that just got made 90 seconds ago. I mean, it's really, really powerful when you look at this intersection of sort of trades and technology, what's going to be available to us very, very quickly. So certainly a really exciting time.
Most powerful part about that we may not have said explicitly here today is, there was a great question, will there be like a final version of SOPs? And Sean answered it and said, yeah, absolutely, that's the direction we're going. And there's a simple reason for that. The final version is the version that the AI agents then utilize as the way of doing things. And so definitely as you build these SOPs and we lock them down, the version that is final becomes the rhythm, becomes the way of doing things, becomes the final answer when somebody in the field asks a question or when an agent is running a rhythm automatically or a workflow automatically in the business. And so these SOPs really are the central nervous system of every business. And traditionally, they've been in a binder on the shelf and they're usually out of date. And what's going to happen here is they're just living, breathing documents. And when we find a hole in an SOP, we can update it quickly, update that status, and it'll have a new version number, but the agents will then be referring to that for all of the sharing of tribal knowledge throughout the company.
Okay, this is a question from Josh. I created a pruning guide in an Excel sheet that provides plant names, seasonal requirements, and notes about pruning. Can I upload this into Lana so that my team can access it by asking Lana about specific plants? I think in ChatGPT that this can be done by creating a custom GPT. Wondering if this is possible in Lana.
So today, you could copy that information out of that spreadsheet and put it in a LeanDoc and do the same thing. As of next week, you will be able to upload that Excel directly and be able to do that. And then I saw a couple things about like linking to live Google Sheets, which is on our short list of integrations that we were talking about before. So in future, yes, connecting directly to a Google Sheet. And I think even more exciting as we talk about specific agents like that, operational agents that are going to help your teams be more effective and have that direct knowledge of those details that they need. We'll get even more specific into the roles of those agents, but providing that sort of help and context to your teams and field staff is exactly what we want to do. So you can do it today, but if you also wait to do it next week, it'll be a little faster. And then between now and the end of the year, getting a lot more robust about that. So really exciting and love that idea and scenario. And I think exactly the point of how AI can help field staff, which are questions we get a lot, which is how do you empower people with information? Now you don't need to explain to them much. You just tell them to ask Lana about the plants and she'll know those answers. So love that from Josh. I think it's a great question. And yes, you can do that.
And just to layer in where this goes, because sometimes I think we leave out some key concepts when we say that we can sync up with, let's say, Google Sheets or Excel docs. We've been really testing a lot of other things in the background, like inventory management, as an example. Traditionally, inventory management's been another piece of software. And we really see that just being fully integrated into this system in a very simple way, where you utilize an inventory system. You set your inventory in position, you label things, you have um, uh, either locations marked on shelves or out in the yard in bins, whatever it happens to be. And you get real-time inventory updating in an Excel sheet or a Google sheet through a barcode scanner if you're using one, or through an app if you're using the app. But more importantly, having Lana connected, you can very easily track outgoing inventory. So, anybody in the company could quickly say, I just loaded 2 yards of black mulch, and Lana can delete that out of inventory and create a record in that spreadsheet. So I think it's really important to remember that a lot of third-party point solutions that have existed in the past have been very disconnected from your tech stack, which made it really difficult to utilize. But by connecting these live sheets, we can really allow Lana and her team of agents to do all kinds of exciting things purely off of conversational AI. Things, updating inventory is just one of many, many workflows, but restocking fuel, or restocking inventory in job site trailers, or ordering materials direct to job site. All of these types of things become very easy with a lot of the integrations that Sean's describing right now, particularly around integrating with live documents like Google and Excel.
Josh is asking about agents, and I'll just preface by saying he's asking for a visualization. Josh, I'll just tell you this before I ask the question. We don't have anything prepared visually, but this is a great note, and we'll get something made soon here that helps, maybe an infographic or a diagram to help the visual learners with this concept. But since you asked, and I do think it's relevant, and Mark was speaking about this just 2 questions ago, so we'll go back to you on this, Mark. I have heard about agents coming into play, and that they will be able to talk to each other. I have trouble visualizing this. Is it possible to see how they integrate? So I don't have anything prepped, but can you just speak to it, and we'll get something made for Josh soon?
Well, I mean, Sean, you may want to take this one. This is definitely right up your alley. I think the world is about to change. The ChatGPT 5 and OpenAI opened up this world very recently, and we're going to see this become the way of doing business everywhere. When you go to book a vacation, you're going to log into Airbnb and have a conversation with their agent, and their agent will handle everything from, flights, hotels, ground transportation, probably even your dinner bookings, just by having a conversation about the type of experiences you want to have on your vacation and whatnot. And I think people will get very familiar with doing business this way. So first stop on a website, you're actually having a conversation with an agent, and that's a sales agent. And then, the next step in that process may be a handoff to another agent, like an operations agent. If you've booked your service online, having a conversation with that agent, then that agent tells the operations agent that it's time to schedule the work. And so most of what would happen today through human interaction, answering emails, texts, phone calls, is just going to be handled through the agents. And the agents are going to trigger all of the workflows that humans trigger. And this is why it's so important for us to get really focused on creating SOPs for every part of the business, because what we're actually doing is we're building the source code for your business so that the agents can operate the way you'd like them to operate. You see, historically, when we were building software, we were writing code, and that code dictated one way of doing things. And that one way of doing things was very rigid. And in some cases, people didn't want to run their business the way that code was written. And the beautiful part with the conversational AI and building your own SOPs is you're building your own source code by documenting how you want things to be done in your business. And then the agents are using that logic to trigger the workflows and speak to other agents. And so your operations agent would be referring to the operational SOPs, while your sales agent would be referring to the sales SOPs. And so each set of agents has a set of directions and workflows to manage, and they know when to interact with other agents downstream, whether it be our agent to QuickBooks or our agent to LMN or our agent to SiteOne to order your materials, whatever that might happen to be. This is the future of the world. This is not just LeanScaper. This is the way it will be in the near term. This is not a long-term thing. This is here, and it's going to change very quickly.
I don't have much to add other than this reinforce what Mark said. This is the current evolution of technology, and our only goal is to help make sure you're leading the way, and we can partner with you in that success, and providing you the platform where this happens, as opposed to you have to figure out how to make this happen. And I think we're at the most incredibly exciting time in technology, coming from somebody who's mature enough to have gone through the internet coming out and mobile phones and social media, and we've never seen change like this. And so our excitement is about empowering you to do more of what you love doing in the day-to-day, and make sure that you can leverage AI to do the mundane for you automatically, and not have to worry about how you make that happen, because that's why we're here, to help make sure you can make that happen, and this industry leads the way.
Every business in the world, every human in the world, the number one problem that we really all face is a lack of communication. On my 360 feedbacks, as long as I can remember having them, my lowest score and the thing I work the hardest at is always communication. And I think having agent to agent interaction, taking away a lot of the mundane interaction and dealing with a lot of the day-to-day workflows that just take up a lot of mental space and time and effort, and often slip between the cracks and then create flow interruptions downstream for others. I think this feeling of never having enough time will start to subside very quickly when we have agents dealing with the mundane and really freeing us up to be more creative, more impactful, more present, more focused on things that actually need to be fixed. And the beautiful part is the agents are going to help us identify where we should be focusing our time on continuous improvement, rather than getting stuck in the weeds doing a lot of that mundane work.
Question from Jeremy Brogan, two-parter, or it's just a long one. Orca is our inventory management system, and it's synced live to a Google Sheet. Can Lana query that sheet directly? For example, instead of opening the sheet, I could just ask Lana, do we have marking paint in stock, and where is it located? I can imagine the efficiency this would create, skipping the need to ask someone else or dig through sheets. The time savings would be huge.
Yeah, I think Mark described that exact scenario. So today you would need to load that sheet in, but coming very soon, we'll have a live connection to that sheet. And those are the exact type scenarios where you can surface information without the need to do fancy integrations with systems, and really empower your team and optimize efficiency. So yes, coming very soon.
Just to layer in there, and for those of you that don't know Jeremy, he's one of the LeanScaper advisors, and he specializes in helping companies get lean. He comes in and does a very robust audit on the business. He looks at the inventory management and deploys an inventory system that he was just referring to, and helps lean out the operation, both the yard, shop, office, job sites, and trailers and whatnot. And what we're really working toward here is not only just an inventory management system that can speak to Lana in real time, but also an IoT system. And IoT stands for Internet of Things, but really what this is a series of tags that get put on tools, very small tags. They get put on trailers, they get put on equipment, and there's IoT devices now in every piece of small engine equipment or heavy equipment and vehicles. And so what this means is in real time, you'll be able to ask Lana for a daily inventory report on your equipment. For example, each day when the equipment leaves the yard, real-time instant inventory of that vehicle and every piece of equipment on it would be produced. And at the end of the day, when it comes back in, if any pieces of equipment were not on the vehicle, you would be notified. So again, just real-time awareness of where your equipment is. But more importantly, throughout the day as that equipment was being used, it also can provide real-time inputs for job costing based on the hours that it was actually utilized on each specific job site. So this sets us up for much better tracking of equipment, much better control over loss prevention on theft and lost tools. And of course, it makes it real easy for us to know where our tools are at any given time, which as you begin to scale the company, I can tell you it gets really hard to figure out where your tools are. I remember a year where we lost 2 skid steers because the GPS units went down, and it took us about 6 months to find one of them. It was parked on a conservation project we were doing in the middle of a forest, and it was forgotten in the spring, and it was late fall before we found it. So when you start to really scale the business, a lot of these things really have a huge impact, just knowing where everything is and just being able to simply ask Lana for location. So what we're going to see through this type of connectivity is going to be incredible power in terms of just eliminating a lot of the day-to-day. And the most powerful thing here is now we don't ask each other where things are and bog each other down. We ask Lana, and we know exactly where things are and who has them signed out.
Question from Anonymous. Is there an AI version for estimating that you could add to your website? Will Lana do this, or is there another that you would recommend?
I think what you're asking for is project budgeting, and this is something that we intend to help with in the future. Now, this is not a fixed price on a job. This would be if a client logs into your website and they're looking for a backyard swimming pool, that they could go through a basic Q&A and get a budget for a project. We don't ever plan to be an AI estimating platform. LMN is definitely all of that and more, and they have some really exciting plans coming to market. And of course, we want to support those plans. But project budgeting for front-end website sales is definitely something we plan to help with.
Here's a question from Christian. How is Lana's Spanish translation and understanding?
Lana is powered by the large language models of the industry, and the language understanding there is excellent. You can already talk to Lana in any language, and we tend to be a little, what do I want to say? Sort of like uniform when it comes to, we think of like Spanish as all one language, not different countries who speak different dialects and have different idioms that are used. And AI and Lana is amazing at that already. And we will have one of our first agents coming out in Q4 that will facilitate communication between what's going on at a crew level, raising those insights internally at the organization on your operations team, and doing translation automatically between the two. So we're there today. You can take any SOP in LeanScaper AI, ask Lana to translate it into whatever language you'd like her to translate it into, and do vice versa in terms of capturing feedback and comments or interacting with Lana in any language. And you can write an English SOP and have a Spanish-speaking crew member understand what's going on in the SOP simply by asking questions in Spanish. So we've crossed the line in terms of universal translation. And as better devices come out, glasses and audio devices, and that hardware really needs to catch up to the software at this point, I think language barriers are a solved problem as soon as the hardware catches up.
This is obviously one of the most serious issues that the industry faces, and certainly something that has been highly motivating for us, is to really remove that barrier. And we really don't believe that continuous improvement can even really truly exist in a company if everybody can't communicate on continuous improvement. And so one of the key things of our agents running the rhythm of the meetings and the check-ins with the crews throughout the day and providing real-time communication channels in an instant for field crews is they can ask questions, provide insights, make suggestions, and share any best practices that they're seeing in real time in their language. And that will be feeding our continuous improvement boards and notifying management of the things that often I think go unsaid just purely because of this lack of communication. So meetings get much better because everybody gets the meeting in their native language, and feedback gets much better because it's being translated back into English and shared upward, which I think often just does not really happen. And I can say for sure, in being out doing continuous improvement meetings with companies that have a large Spanish workforce, it doesn't take long when you start to sit down and speak Spanish in a continuous improvement meeting to see that there is hundreds of amazing ideas and incredible feedback points that are just not really ever being heard. And when you hold one of those meetings and you get hundreds, it's really hard to action hundreds of ideas at once, where when you embed this into the day-to-day rhythm, you're always capturing that input and feedback. And I think this is where we really start to tap into the true genius of the field and eliminate the waste and really build the culture that we're really trying to build. I think often feels impossible when you can't communicate.
One of the concepts that I think is really well understood in the lean community that is less well understood in the best ideas come from the shop floor. And your shop floor is the site. And so often the worst ideas come from the office or come from a boardroom or way high up the organization. And if you've been in business for any length of time at all, you will have firsthand experience with that yourself. So what Mark is talking about is just solving that gap and making the factory floor solutions way easier to capture and get. And therefore, we don't need for the half-baked boardroom solutions that don't understand the context and are kind of missing a lot of the information needed to come up with truly good prescriptive SOPs and processes and solutions for your business. And so I just want to connect the dots on those points. It's really important.
There's an example there, Benji, that comes to mind that I'll just share really quickly. And it's often, a frontline worker who is speaking another language, who has an important burning question, but they don't really feel comfortable reaching back to the office. They're not really sure where to get the information. And it could be something as simple as they're out laying a paver patio and is referencing a pattern, but they don't have that document to tell them how to lay that pattern. And what we really want Lana to be able to do, and the field agents, are answer those types of questions and in real time provide the document, provide the information. So if a Spanish worker was out laying a patio, they could just ask Lana in their native language for that pattern, and she'll serve up that PDF document or that product specification document that they're asking for, so that they can go ahead and do their work independently. And I think unfortunately there's been a big misconception around what field crews can and can't do on their own based on communication breakdown. And for this reason, I think there's been way too much middle management in this industry. And the middle managers are sucking up a lot of the frontline wages and the profits of the company. And so I think what we're going to see is much more empowered frontline managers, crew managers that don't need middle managers spoon feeding them information as a result of this type of technology.
Really good question here from Walter, who is new to LeanScaper. Welcome, Walter. Can you speak about how it can help with marketing budgets if we share our leads and our numbers and our closing ratios and our QuickBooks? How can Lana help with marketing budgets?
I think it's funny. The question sort of answers the question to me, which is if you share your marketing budgets, your conversion rates, you connect your QuickBooks, now you talk to Lana about the challenges you're having, you write a lean doc that includes your ICP, and now you ask for how to optimize that budget and marketing ideas and to brainstorm with you on making that spend more efficient. You're going to get incredible answers. Lana will reference all of our best practices from a marketing side and our LeanScaper operating system and our SOPs, leverage all of that information you've just provided and work with you on optimizing that spend and that plan. So again, it's a great question. And if you're thinking that way, I would just recommend that you go do that, and you will see how she can help. There's virtually nothing she can't help with there.
I think that's a theme in general. The more you share documents, the more you connect up the data, particularly as we add more integration options, but more shared document access. Lana is just going to have a much deeper set of data in which to contextualize answers for you. And really, at its core, what we've given you is your own AI database that gets to know you, gets to know your business, and then provides answers based upon everything she knows and everything we've trained her and the large language models of the world have at their disposal, and then contextualizing the correct answer. So in the case of marketing, building an incredible marketing strategy and making a suggestion on exactly where to invest and double down based on the current results and based on results that she knows to be true industry wide, you're definitely going to end up with an incredible marketing strategy. And then, if you do need some help executing that, we've got some advisors here in the LeanScaper advisory program that can help execute that strategy and maybe even tweak it and provide a little human input. But whether it's marketing, sales tactics, sales strategies for outbound selling, anything related to revenue growth, customer service, operations, the more data you give her, the more likely she's going to help create better strategies, better SOPs, better workflows to really help eliminate the waste and drive better results, and then just provide more insight on an ongoing basis as to what's happening.
We have a bunch of questions piling up about like APIs and connections and Zapier, and I'm going to try to sort of merge a few of them together. Dale's asking, this is maybe the best framed version of the question. It's about like pushing information to other systems. When Lana can speak, will we be able to use her to input data to LMN, QuickBooks, or any other software, any other point solution in our tech stack? So I think it's more about the push motion than the pull motion, guys. Sean, do you want to take a stab at that?
Yeah, and some of this is what we see the future of these interactions look like. So right now, the fundamental challenge is understanding what's going on in your business with all of those systems. So helping to solve that and provide the right context and information for the best answers is our initial focus. And Mark mentioned this before, the next phase of that is orchestration with those other systems who will have agents of their own and interact with our agents. And at that point, yes, pushing data will be there, but our goal is not to create a different UI to get data into those systems. All of those systems have great experiences to do that already. The interplay between those systems and the agents of those systems becomes really critical as this AI future evolves. So I think that's where our main focus is.
Just to reiterate that point, and just in different words, phase one for every company that's here today is definitely hyper focusing on you building out all of your SOPs for in all four areas of the business, all four pillars, if you're following the LeanScaper operating system. And the reason that the operating system is so foundational to your AI evolution is these agents really need to have a way of doing things. And the SOPs are the source code. And so the accelerator program is a a 50-week program where you and your leadership team come together. But really what we're doing is we're helping you create source code for your business that will enable these agents to speak to other softwares and run workflows and rhythms in your business for you. And in most companies, there isn't enough documented workflow or standard operating procedure or policies in the company for agents to do anything. And so really, as Sean was pointing out there, is this is the foundation. Then when we start releasing more agents in addition to Lana, what you start to see is them speaking to agents from other software platforms. And our agents are going to be wildly intelligent because they're listening or reading or accessing your source code. And so all of these other products that we're referencing are not going to know this information about your business. So QuickBooks is not going to be able to run your business for you. Their agent will just be able to tell you the financial information. And so what we're building is your central nervous system and your entire agentic team, your management team, based on your source code. And the communication between all of the other point solutions or platforms that you might be using is going to happen through the agents. Our agents are just going to be more intelligent than everybody else's because you're putting your source code into your AI database, which we're hosting for you. I hope that kind of clarifies that communication pieces a little bit further.
Yeah, it's really well said. Guys, there's a bunch of, I know there's questions here we didn't get to. I'm going to save these and we'll kind of backlog them for future Q&As. I really appreciate all the thoughtful questions. We are at time. Thank you guys for an awesome Q&A. Keep the questions coming. Take care, everyone. Have an awesome Tuesday.